So for those of you who implemented last night's game plan, you should have had a phenomenal green day trading today. I made it very, very clear that the best setup was to buy call options at the oversold zone if we are seeing a green bullish 30-minute candlestick confirmation. In terms of the oversold zone that I gave you, I had explained to you that the zone was going to be 553 to 554.50. The exact lows on the day was 553.69. And I told you to wait for a green bullish 30-minute candlestick confirmation. As soon as the SPY hit the most oversold buy zone using the break and retest strategy, the SPY ended up forming a green bullish 30-minute candlestick confirmation. If you implemented last night's game plan properly, you should have had a phenomenal green day and you should have been buying call options right here on the opening of this 30-minute candlestick at 11:30 a.m. because we hit the zone and we formed a green bullish 30-minute pin. And then once this 30-minute candlestick ended up opening up at 557, the SPY ended up quickly rocketing, just like it did in the pre-market, all the way to 561.20. And then in terms of the breakdown and retest, you could see right here in the pre-market, we had some support at 561, some support at 561. The SPY ended up cracking that support, never retested, overreaction to the upside, red, green, red, started to drop, started to have that double top, turning that previous support into a breakdown and retest level where you could have potentially went short and bought put options for a scalp against the overall trend. If you used last night's game plan, you should have been printing money just like the day before at the speed of fucking light. Now, in terms of the new game plan, this is going to be very, very lucrative. Let's get straight into the analysis. So in terms of the daily chart foundation, I'm seeing multiple patterns that can play out on the daily chart. This is what I want to bring awareness to. In terms of our first level for put options, and this is mainly going to be if we're opening up flat or gapping up, there's going to be a zone. There's going to be two main levels to keep an eye for put options. First level is going to be the high of day, the previous day highs, right here, 563. We're going to be keeping an eye on puts for 563. Now, the true best level is going to be towards 566 to 567 zone. So here's the deal. If you're seeing red bearish 30-minute candlestick confirmations, trend reversal 30-minute candlestick confirmations, you're seeing the SPY reacting as a resistance at 563 or at 566 to 567. We're going to be scalping put options. In terms of profit targets, if you're doing puts at 567 to 566, the next level below is going to be towards mid 563.50 in terms of profit targets. In terms of profit targets right here, if you're doing puts at 563, overall profit target would be towards this 560 to 559. Make sure when you are up 15% on your 0-to-8 options that you are setting profit stops so you get stopped out for profit. Based off the daily chart patterns, I'm seeing a potential play as long as there's confirmations where we can top out towards the previous day highs, if not towards the pre-market highs. I'm also seeing this confirmation by looking towards the 10-day 30-minute chart. In terms of how this played out, man, you can see we have this crazy spike here towards extended hours. Once the SPY started to retest, that overall spike started to sell off. So again, if you're seeing a resistance, if you're seeing a red bearish 30-minute candlestick confirmations towards this previous day high or towards this pre-market resistance at 566 to 567, you're going to be wanting to scalp put options in that overall area. Now, let's get into the calls. So in terms of the calls, this is what I want you to understand. First things first, this is make or break. The previous closing price heading into tomorrow is a make or break level, right? So this is the middle, this is the overall middle of the range, this is the overall make and break type of overall zone. 558.87. It's not 100% the best level. It's going to be a make or break level. If it's reacting as a support, you can scalp calls. If it's reacting as a resistance, you can try to scalp puts, but you got to be extremely careful. One thing I will note is if we are gapping down, the SPY is likely going to have a bearish trend day if we are gapping down. That is another pattern that I'm seeing throughout the daily chart. So if the SPY is gapping down, it's likely going to be a bearish trend day. And if we are gapping down, you can look for put options towards the previous closing price at 558.870 if it's reacting as a resistance level, right? You can also look for put options if we're gapping down towards this 558 level if it's reacting as a resistance. Now that is mainly if we're gapping down. Just understand that previous closing price is considered a make or break overall level. Now, in terms of the best levels that I have for call options, the new break and retest level. Let's get into it. So the previous oversold break and retest level where I told you to buy calls was at that 554.50 overall range to 553. If you looked at the 30-minute chart, we had resistance here, we had resistance here. Once the SPY broke above that resistance, it never retested towards that previous 554, which is why I told you, man, once we go back to that 554, it's likely going to react to support. So if we're seeing the green bullish 30-minute candlestick confirmation along with the daily chart foundation where the daily chart pattern said the SPY was going to try to have a bullish trend day, so the best play would be to buy call options towards the oversold levels, right? If we're opening up towards the overbought levels, towards the break and retest levels, not the best thing because it's too earlier into the day, and the daily chart foundation said that the SPY was going to try to hit that oversold zone regardless. But if it's opening up this fucking high in the pre-market, there was no reason to be buying calls with all these red bearish 30-minute candlestick confirmations. What you need to understand is this was the break. This was the break right here above the resistance. Nice break. This was the retest 30-minute candlestick confirmation, right? In terms of the new break and retest level, it's going to be right here. Take a look, and it already tested in the pre-market. For those of you who have been following along with the overall analysis, this has been a strong pattern that's been working in terms of this year. The break and retest strategy where it plays out during the extended hours session. So this right here is the new resistance level towards this 556.50 to 557 zone. The SPY had a massive breakout all the way to 562, and it never retested during the normal trading hours. But in terms of confirmation, as you can see, it did end up testing during the extended hours trading session. In this particular situation, that's what it's shown in terms of the pin, and this is where it bottoms. So you can use this pin as well as a confirmation that it's likely going to work, with the extended hours play. But just keep in mind, look for a confirmation towards 557 to 556.50. If you're seeing the confirmation, buy calls for the break and retest level. In terms of the next level and profit target that we can go to, as you can see, once we break above 557, we're going to quickly go to this mid 558. Level above that is going to be towards 560. Set the profit stops when you're up 15%. That is going to be the second best level for call options. 557 to 556.50 zone, break, retest, buy the calls. Extended hours trading is already confirming it. And once the SPY hits this extended hours level of 556.50 to 557, it will likely bounce first for a very lucrative trading opportunity to be scalping 0-to-8 options at the speed of fucking light. But you got to get in as soon as it hits in that sense. So you can use this extended hours information as a confirmation in a sense, but you could also wait for the 30-minute chart. But just understand, very high probabilities that we are going to bounce first at 556.50 to 557. Now, in terms of the true best level for calls, this would be it, man. Based off of the daily chart pattern that I'm seeing, I measured the move throughout the overall daily chart pattern. This would be the best level possible to be buying call options if we're just reacting bearish in general, or if the SPY is gapping down. Just keep in mind, if we are gapping down, it's going to try to be an overall bearish trend day, and you should be focusing on put options, right? But in terms of this level, 550 to 549. This is a very strong support zone, and I went back throughout the daily chart pattern, and it's saying regardless, it's going to try to bounce first once we hit this zone. Now, in terms of this overall idea that I'm giving you, this is specifically for tomorrow. Just understand that. It's based off of a daily chart pattern. So in terms of this daily chart foundation that I'm seeing, as of now, this idea that I'm telling you in terms of where you can kind of just auto buy calls is specifically for tomorrow. So the idea expires tomorrow, and then I take it, day by day in terms of the new ideas, right? So just understand that it's different for each idea. Now, in terms of the overall price ladder and what I can give you, so I gave you the best levels to be trading at in terms of the overall ladder, 549 to 550, 552. Next level above 552 is going to be this 554. Next level above 554 is going to be this 556.50 to 557. That's the break and retest zone. Next level above that is going to be previous closing price 559. Next level above 559 is going to be towards 560 to 562. Next level above that 563, 567. That's what we're going to try puts. That's the overall price ladder. I explained to you the best levels to be trading within the overall ladder, and I explained to you the overall strategies that I'm planning to use at those overall levels, right? So we have these levels, we have strategies at the overall levels, we use confirmations at the levels with the strategy, right? So the level, daily chart foundation, we have the level, we have the strategy combined with the level, we have the confirmation at the fucking level. We're going to print at the speed of fucking light. It's going to be so much fucking printing, so much fucking winning. You're not even going to know what to do with all the fucking winning. It's just going to keep on fucking winning non-fucking stop, man. So that's the game plan. I gave you the ladder in terms of, what you can do with that information as well in terms of the ladder. That helps guide you at price action in terms of support and in terms of resistance. And if you're seeing one of the levels react bearish or bullish, you can try to scalp just to understand the brackets in between, those levels. I like to focus on wide brackets where you can make big profit target potentials, right? I tend to sway away from the small brackets, and I explain to you the levels that I'm interested in terms of trading at the overall ladder. Just understand in terms of the complete ladder, it's support, resistance, price action, reacts bullish, go to the next level, reacts bearish, go down to the next level, and then I explain to you the differences in between the levels that I'm interested in trading at with the overall strategies. So that is the game plan. If you used last night's game plan, you should have been printing money at the speed of light. It was just so clear, man. It was so clear. What did I tell you? I told you, it's gonna be a bullish trend day as long as we're holding above 553. The daily chart foundation says a strong bullish closing trend day. So when we're having this very strong open above 563, I don't care if there's bullish confirmations. If we're that fucking high, that fucking early, and I explained to you why I would be swaying away from calls earlier into the morning if we're towards the high break and retest levels, and I'd be extremely careful because I was seeing confirmations on the daily chart with this foundation that it was going to try to drop back towards the previous day lows, and the break and retest level along with measuring the move is how I came up with that overall zone of 553 to 554.50. If you go back and watch last night's video, that's why I said, man, to be extremely careful and sway away from call options earlier into the day if we're towards the higher break and retest levels. I told you it's best to wait for the oversold zone to hit and then buy calls if there's a confirmation, and the confirmation was there at the overall zone. And then later into the day, if we're starting to reverse, then you could play it safe and buy call options towards the higher resistance levels using the break and retest strategy rather instead than getting trapped into the morning. So the point is, I taught you exactly how I came up with all that information, and I led you in the right direction. And there's not a single person on this fucking planet who gave you the information that I gave you, because this is something in terms of how I created in my style of trading, how my third eye sees the market, and how I think about the overall market with my trade ideas. So in terms of today, just like yesterday, losing should have been your own personal choice. If you use the game plan, if you use the confirmations, you should have been green back to back, making hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars, man. So with that being said, I'm going to be signing off. We absolutely crushed it on the day. We had many, many wins. For those of you who are serious about trading alongside with us, is going to be the first link down below within the description. You gain access to our 0-date options trade alert system. You gain access to our 0-date options trades. You gain access to, our community and our network if you want to start trading alongside with us within the overall chat. And you can ask us questions within the chat. It's going to be the first link down below within the description. Now, if you excuse me, I'm going to be heading back to my secured private organization.